Yes, YouTube, welcome back to another video. So, as I am off prep, we are going to dive into the title of this video, which is the pros and cons of getting absolutely shredded. In my case now, for stage, right? My first time competing, so the leanest I have ever been. And we're going to keep these vids coming in terms of diving into specific topics now as well, because now that I'm off prep, I've got a lot more beans. I've got a lot more life to me, so we can be banging out the usual day in the life vlog style training content, but we can also be diving into these specific topics as well, whilst I will try and not get run over. So I will usually be sat in the office whilst we're doing these, but I thought we'd dive in whilst I go and pick my car up. So let's start with the cons as a natural of getting shredded, because we'll finish with the positives, which is the most important thing, because in terms of my first time competing, very much enjoyed it. So when we are looking at the cons, the first thing we have to be aware of, and this was my most difficult thing, right? I love training. I love I wouldn't class myself as a bodybuilder, but just the physique development lifestyle, self-improvement lifestyle, right? I love it. So I will do it without moaning, whatever I need to do, right? Do whatever. But for me, just the time, like, you have to think, if you are somebody who's going to have to push that cardio high and you're going to have to do a lot of steps, like I am very, very busy with coaching. So for me, having to do 50 minutes cardio every single day and 12,500 steps every single day, like, you've got to be aware, if that's what you're going to need to potentially push to do, it is time consuming. Like, it does genuinely take up a lot of that time. So that for me was the hardest thing, and it is just something to be aware of, because doing it, I didn't care. It was just literally the time out of my day. Like, genuinely, there was not one time where I was sat doing nothing from 5:30 till 9, 8:30. Like, genuinely, that's not me trying to sound hardcore. That is how much work I had to do, doing work whilst I was doing steps, doing work whilst I was doing cardio. Like, very, very, very tough. So that for me was the hardest thing. So whilst I wait for the beef to cook, let's dive into number 2 in terms of the cons. So very fitting, this is going to be hunger, right? No matter where your food gets to. So for example, my food on its lowest on the non-training day was 1,400 calories. Now, obviously, I'm hungry on these days. There's no way of getting away from it, right? In the final stages, when you are really, really pushing, you are going to be hungry. You are going to have a high want for food. You are going to really want to eat more. So if you really, really struggle to deal with that, you need to know, you need to be aware. That is going to happen. If your lowest food is 2,400 calories, if your lowest food is 1,400 calories, with your body just being in that condition and being in a deficit, you are going to be hungry. You are going to have that demand for food there that we cannot necessarily fill. So I am absolutely okay with this. This is something that does not bother me at all. The other cons around it are more so the ones that affect me. I would eat pretty much anything when that goal's in place. But you have to be aware, there's only so much you can do with food and spreading things out and all of these. At times, you will be hungry. And that just is what it is. Like, there was some mornings on the weekend where I would still wake up at like 5:30, 6, and my body is just hungry. And I'm up, and my body's literally saying to me, look, mate, we need some food. And that just is what it is. When you're pushing for that condition, you've got to just put up with those little things. Number 3, and honestly for me, fellas, this is the hardest one, right? And it's, well, second to the time. And it is just energy. Your energy will be low. And this is where I struggle the most, because in the gym, you will be flagging towards the end. You will be. You know, if you're legit pushing to be leaner than you ever have before, you've never been there, it's new territory, you will be feeling it from a fatigue standpoint. Like, genuinely, the energy is just not there. Like, you have to conserve your energy. Like, those last 3 weeks when I was in the gym, like, I was not talking, I wasn't, like, the energy was just not there, especially when I've been working all morning. When I get in the gym, like, trust me, you will need to be able to just switch it on and work, because energy does drop, and that's just because you've been in a deficit for a long, long time. Your body is in a position where it wants more food, it wants some rest, and you're plowing away with expenditure, you're plowing away with low food. So you have to be prepared that your energy is going to be lower, and that is tough. That is hard, right? Especially when you're making sure work standards do not drop, training standards do not drop. It is difficult from an energy standpoint. And again, you have to just embrace that. You have to be okay with that, because that is going to hit you at some point when you are that level of body fat. It doesn't matter where food is or where cardio is. Of course, you can make it more manageable and we can manage recovery and those things there. But like, for example, with me, I didn't have one refeed all prep, right? So like, by the time we got to the end, I was just running on absolute pure fumes, because that's what's needed to get done. And it did get the job done, but you have to be ready for that. And that is super, super important. So energy will be lower. You will have to drive through that. And as long as you accept that and you embrace it, you can get through it. But if you are the type of person who's just going to moan and going to feel sorry for yourself, straight away we want to be working on that mindset, because that's the thing that's it's gonna be there, and you've got to deal with it. You've got to embrace it. So before we jump on a consult call, let's break down the next point, and that is, obviously, as a natural, when you are driving towards that level of body fat, right, it is not healthy for that period. So hormonally, if you were to look at that, and obviously if you get your blood work checked, you'll be able to see all this. It will take a hit, right? It will take its toll. As a natural, most likely, testosterone will come down, things like that will get hit, and that will just impact pretty much everything. Like, everything you do, it will have that effect, and that's something that you have to be aware of. That's why you cannot be stupid with what you are doing, and that's why, for me, managing post-show now is so important to get as healthy as possible. So you need to make sure that you're in a point where you can handle stress. You know, your sleep is as on point as it possibly can be, because everything else, it is essentially unhealthy for that period of time. Now, these are things that we can manage. These are things that we can make sure, like I said, you've got things in place for afterwards to, right, let's get healthy. Let's get dietary fats up. Let's really focus on recovery. You know, that's why now there's no silly sessions in there yet. Cardio, we've, you know, really tapered down an expenditure, and that food, we're really focusing on the quality of it and keeping everything good. That's another reason why I've not gone crazy post. So that will have an effect, you know, and that will lead you to being a little bit snappy sometimes, and you've got a really short temper, and just your desire for everything really is down, and you can become all round just a little bit numb. And again, that's something you have to be prepared for, because when you are driving for that level of condition, that is something that absolutely can happen. You know, if you're just trying to get lean for holiday, you don't need to push yourself to the point of that. But if we're really pushing to get into the, you know, some elite shape for a photo shoot, or you really want to drive down, see how lean you can get, or you are competing yourself, you know, you have to realize it will really take a hit, and you have to manage that. You have to remember, no one's forcing you to do it. You can stop that at any point. You know, so you can't be feeling sorry for yourself and be snappy with people. And I really made sure I tried my hardest to not do that, not moan about anything to do with the prep, because at the end of the day, it is my choice there. And they're the negatives, you know, that's the negative side of it, and that is the reality of things. But for me, the positives massively outweigh that, and that is, I wanted to be as honest and as clear as possible with those downsides, but for me the positives outweigh the negatives. So we'll get into those. Good morning, fellas. Just wrapped up the Thursday check-ins in the kitchen. This is where we cook. This is where cooking is going down, right? And I wanted to go through the positives now of when we're really pushing to that condition and we're setting the goal. And the number one thing, obviously, we'll start with the most obvious, right? And then we'll go into kind of just the benefits there that you really want to focus on, because there's a lot, and there's a lot you might not think about. And obviously, getting into sick shape. And actually, if that's something you've always wanted to do, like I've always wanted to see myself on stage, I've always wanted to see myself that lean. You know, I've always wanted to do that. I've got a few more personal things that I'm really happy with that I'll go through. But like, I always did used to doubt myself. I know I've not got the greatest genetics. I know, you know, me pushing for top placings and stuff like that, I'll always be a far better coach than I will be like a high level natural competitor, right? And I'm absolutely fine with that. I'm so happy that it's that way because it's forced me to learn and become a better coach to get the most out of my own physique as well, right? So, but getting in shape is sick. Like there's times when you look at yourself and you're like, oh my God, I'm not ready, and it stresses you out. But there is times when, like for me, the video, the pictures when I posed for Kez, who was my posing coach, about 3 hours before I stepped on stage. And when I looked at that, I was like, if you showed me that 10 years ago, I'd have been like Jesus, what have I done there? So yeah, to just get in that shape and actually know you've like done that and got that and you're actually in that shape is obviously sick, right? And that's obviously a positive. So yes, you could say it's from a vain standpoint or the stuff that I'm going to go through now with the other positives, whatever you want. But like, if you're genuinely doing that for yourself and you're doing it for the right reasons, like you can absolutely look at yourself at sometimes and be like, right, I'm fucking happy. Like I said, I'm happy with that. Like, I'm happy with the work I got done. And that was always the goal for me from day one. So yeah, that's obviously the clearest positives, but there is multiple other things. And I always say this, I say this to all the boys. My little motto there is progress is the base, right? Progress is the base. So you pushing for that, that's the base of your life for that whole entire prep, which is a very good thing to have. So we'll get on to the other positives as well as just looking sick. So positive number 2, and this for me is the best one, and this kind of is all those hard things, right? It's kind of overcoming all of those. So it's the amount of self-respect and self-fulfillment that you will get when you genuinely have not missed anything. Now, this is not the case if you blow out on your diet, miss cardio, miss steps. Like from day one, I knew whatever is on the plan, I'm getting it done no matter what. So that was my steps, my food, my training, my cardio, and not only get it done, but do it to this standard, the best standard I possibly can. That was always the goal. And that's what I did, right? And there was so many times where I thought, what am I doing? I don't need to be doing this. Like if I had a really busy work day and I've got to be there for the boys and I've got to sort this out and all of that stuff that I usually just have to do in the standard day. And then we've got 12.5K steps, we've got low food, we've got 50 minutes of cardio daily, right? There is so many days where I was stood there or sat there thinking, what are you doing? Like, you do not have to do this right now. This does not need to be this difficult right now. But it's the fact then, when you lean into that, you power through that, you get everything done, you have a good check-in then. You get a new low the next day, right? That driving through, like I literally said to Lucy, like I would get back from training, barely eat anything, have to do 50 minutes of cardio after like already like 8 hours of work that day, right? And like completely fried. And because the cardio was so long, I had to do work whilst I was doing the cardio. I had to put transformation pictures together, I had to edit things, I had to sort posts, get back to WhatsApps, watch form calls, sort the videos for the team calls, like all of these things. So I'm not saying it like moaning, but some of that cardio was like genuinely brutal. And like I'm halfway through it thinking like not exaggerating, this is like, I feel horrendous, like brutal. But the fulfillment now of knowing that I got every single second of that done with 100% intensity, and I did not skip a cardio, I did not skip 1 minute of cardio, I did not go a gram over with any food. That fulfillment that you will get and that self-respect that you will get there's nothing else like that. Like my week now, this week, there's still stressful things that pop up, but it's just a breeze compared to what I was doing, right? So you just know, you learn, like you can actually dig in. Like I know when when push comes to shove, when things get difficult, like when you know for a fact, you don't shy away from it, you don't take the easy route, you don't look for your comfort zone, like you genuinely dig in and push that, that's very, very valuable. And that for me is the biggest positive of like really pushing for that condition, because no matter who you are, you have to push hard, right? And you'll feel it, and you've got to manage emotions, you've got to manage stress, and you've got to power through. So that for me is 100% like the most valuable thing, the most valuable part of that, and that is a big, big, big one. So if you haven't ever pushed yourself there and really dug into like that level, I would definitely recommend that, because that is something that you can't buy, you have to lock in and do. And that's why when I was on stage for that second show, I was like, do you know what, doesn't matter what happens here, I've done every single thing I possibly can do. And that is very, very, very rewarding. Like I said before, I always tell all the boys, I'm going to get PITB on my wall in the office. Progress is the base. When you have that progression and that's the base, very, very, very powerful, very, very valuable. So that's a big one. So another huge positive, and a lot of people spin this into a negative, right? Like they'll compete and then they'll just like slate bodybuilding. Like they'll slate bodybuilding, slate physique development. They'll do a complete 180. They'll start like running and all of this stuff, right? And like that's sound if you want to do that, but I absolutely love training so much. And I'm so excited now, having seen my physique the best I've been, I'm so excited to make some progress. And that just like confirms to me how much I just love physique development, right? And it's because of, yes, like I said there, those two things. You get into sick shape, but it is just having it as your base. Like I have got now this just little health phase going into the gaining phase. So it's every day, progress, feeling healthier, feeling better, feeling more like myself, feeling better in the gym. Then it's a gaining phase, growing, getting better. Every day you're up and you've got a goal there to get better. Like that for me is invaluable again, right? So the self-fulfillment from doing it, but then actually the process of having a goal and getting it done, if that's locked in, like it's unreal. And that's what competing just confirmed to me, is that like, right, Luke, you do love that, like you do love the physique development side, you do love pushing yourself. And I knew that, but it's nice to just have that confirmed, because you know, I didn't know for 100%. You know, a lot of people compete and you see them do a complete 180. Like I said, they'll you know, change the direction their business goes. They'll start doing all this. They'll start doing high roxes and all stuff like that. And that was the last thing I wanted to do, because I know I love getting in there, getting locked into a chest press and driving it, right? So to know that I have zero temptation to kind of come away from what I'm doing, and you know how the Coaching Coliseum is set up and all of that, when I see so many people do that, is like just confirms to me that I do love that. And you know, I've built the Coaching Coliseum for the right reasons, because I genuinely love it, and I absolutely love leading by example with that, and why pushing yourself just keeps such a strong base. Like yes, it's been hard, but I've genuinely been pretty level through that full prep, and that's the most stress, you know, I'll ever put on my body. So to know that I can still keep everything in a good spot through that just shows the boys there the example of, look, like I can prep and still be a fantastic coach, you know, still make sure we're pushing forward with the business, helping as many people as possible, still, you know, see my family, see my friends, make sure that me and Lucy are okay. And you know, there's challenges with that when you're on prep. You know, you can't go out for meals and stuff like that, and you know, those things we've got to manage. So to be able to manage that, and to be able to just have a base now to push forward even further, is fucking sick. So yeah, they are the positives. And another big one, like all the boys who I did compete against, all absolutely sound, like really nice lads. The standard in that class was crazy good, and they were all, you know, really good lads. And that was one thing I wasn't too bothered about the show day part of it, to be honest. But I absolutely love documenting the prep. That's why these YouTubes are coming thick and fast, so make sure you are subbed, because at least 2 a week are on the way. But yeah, all around, the positives for me massively outweigh those tough bits. And those tough bits, you know, yes, of course we can manage them, but I wouldn't want it to be easy. You know, if it's easy, you don't get those benefits there. You don't prove yourself that, you know, you're really about it and you can really dig in. So that is where we're at with getting shredded. And it's time to let the body heal up, make improvements, but we'll definitely be pulling down at some point to beat that physique, that's for sure, because that is very much doable. So I'll be breaking down kind of the different areas, how to actually set those fat loss phases up, how to actually set those gaining phases up, and we'll be going into detail, and we'll have the day in the lives, the full day of eatings, the sessions, everything is on the way. So make sure you are subbed. As always, the link to coaching, if you are interested, is in the description. The link to perform, my link there with my code already on it. You are a legend if you use that. Let me know what you get, all in the description. Make sure you sub, drop a like. I'll see you boys in the next one. Peace.